cloud computing? We are going to be looking at the definition of cloud computing, cloud models, benefits of cloud computing, and the disadvantages of cloud computing. So, what is cloud computing? Cloud computing is a technology model that allows users to access and use computing resources such as servers, storage, applications, and services over the internet. Rather than owning and maintaining your own physical infrastructure, you can rely on cloud computing providers to deliver these resources on demand, typically through a pay-as-you-go pricing model, meaning you pay for what you use. Cloud computing is typically divided into three main categories, which are infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. In the infrastructure as a service model, users have access to virtualized computing resources such as servers, storage, and networking, which they can configure and manage as needed. This model provides users with the most control and flexibility, but also requires the most technical expertise to manage. In the platform as a service model or PaaS model, users have access to a platform for developing, testing, and deploying applications without having to manage the underlying infrastructure. This model provides users with a balance of control and ease of use, and can be a good choice for businesses that want to focus on application development rather than infrastructure management. In the SaaS model or software as a service model, users have access to software applications that are hosted and managed by the provider, typically through a web browser or mobile application. This model provides users with the least control but the greatest convenience, and can be a good choice for businesses that want to avoid the cost of software licensing and maintenance. Cloud computing has become increasingly popular in recent years due to its ability to provide businesses with access to computing resources on demand with minimal upfront investments. Cloud computing can help businesses increase efficiency, reduce costs, and improve their operations, but it is important for businesses to carefully consider their needs and to choose a cloud computing provider that can meet those needs effectively. Moving on to cloud models. There are three primary cloud models, which are infrastructure as a service, sometimes referred to as IaaS, platform as a service, PaaS, software as a service, SaaS. Each model offers a different level of control and flexibility to the user. So, let's look at infrastructure as a service first. It provides users with access to virtualized computing resources, such as servers, storage, and networking over the internet. Users can configure and manage these resources as needed, but are responsible for maintaining the operating system and applications running on the infrastructure. Examples of infrastructure as a service providers include Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure. Platform as a service. Platform as a service provides users with a platform for developing, testing, and deploying applications without the need to manage the underlying infrastructure. Platform as a service providers typically offer pre-configured environments for specific programming languages or frameworks, as well as tools for managing the application lifecycle. Users can focus on developing and deploying their applications rather than worrying about infrastructure, as is seen with infrastructure as a service. Examples of PaaS providers include Heroku and Google App Engine. Now let's look at software as a service. Software as a service provides users with access to software applications over the internet, typically through a web browser. Users do not need to install or maintain the software, as it is hosted and managed by the provider. SaaS providers typically offer subscription-based pricing models, and users can typically access the software from any device with an internet connection. Examples of SaaS providers include Salesforce and Microsoft Office 365. Now, each cloud computing model has its own advantages and disadvantages. Infrastructure as a service provides the most control and flexibility, but also requires the most technical expertise to manage. As the consumer, you will need to take care of the security and the configuration when you are using infrastructure as a service. Platform as a service offers a balance of control and ease of use, meaning that the consumer and the provider have to share the duties, have to share the responsibilities when it comes to security, configuration, and so on. While software as a service provides the least control, but the greatest convenience. Most of the configurations in SaaS are done by the provider. The consumer is mostly responsible for just the data and the information and identity access management. Ultimately, the choice of cloud computing model will depend on the specific needs and priorities of the user. We will make a video on how to choose a cloud provider in the upcoming topics, so stay tuned for that. Moving on to cloud benefits. Cloud computing offers numerous benefits for individuals and businesses alike. Here are some of the key advantages of cloud computing. There is scalability, cost savings, accessibility, disaster recovery, security, flexibility, increased efficiency, improved collaboration. Now let's look at scalability. Cloud computing allows businesses to scale up or down their computing resources as needed without having to invest in expensive hardware or software. This means that businesses can easily adapt to changes in demand without incurring significant costs. If when you're using the cloud, you notice that you need more virtual machines, the cloud is able to help you increase the number of virtual machines as you need. And that means you do not have to pause what you're doing. You do not have to pause your business processes and purchase storage. You just increase the number of virtual machines, the storage that you require at the moment. And when you no longer need those resources, you can downscale. You can remove the number of virtual machines that are no longer in use. This lines up with the pay-as-you-go principle that is used in cloud, whereby you only pay for what you need. You only pay for the virtual machines that you're using. Those virtual machines that you no longer need, you remove them. You scale down. And when you need more virtual machines, you scale up. Now let's look at cost savings. Cloud computing eliminates the need for businesses to invest in expensive hardware and software, which can be a significant cost savings. Additionally, cloud providers typically charge based on usage, pay as you go, so businesses only pay for the resources they actually use, which can lead to significant cost savings over time. There is what is called capital expenditure, which is the money that you use to buy servers, storage at your companies. Now, With the cloud, you no longer have to buy those expensive servers. You just have to rent the virtual machines that you need to use. And this is just called operational expenditure. So how do you save money? Instead of buying huge servers that have a lot of space that you will not be using, you only get to pay for the small amount of storage that you want to use on the cloud. So this is how you save money in cloud. Then there is accessibility. Cloud computing allows users to access their data and applications from anywhere with an internet connection. This means that businesses can easily collaborate with remote teams and employees can work from anywhere, increasing productivity and efficiency. With cloud computing, all your employees do not have to be in one office. You can employ someone from Africa, from America, from Asia, and they can still be able to access the data and the applications of your businesses as long as they have an internet connection and as long as they have the right credentials to access your systems that are being hosted on the cloud. Now let's move to disaster recovery. Cloud computing providers typically have robust disaster recovery measures in place, such as data backup and redundancy, which can help businesses recover quickly from a disaster or outage. So usually with cloud, they have your data in many different places, in their different storage places, it could be in different countries or geographical locations, so that when, let's say, if one of your systems is attacked, maybe with a DDoS attack, distributed denial of service attack, that means you can access your same system, but maybe now you're accessing it from Asia, whereas you'd been accessing it from America, or you've been accessing it from East America, now you're accessing it from South America. So what it basically means is the same data and systems that you have, they are backed up somewhere, the exact same. So if what you're using is corrupted, maybe you can still get the same copy of your systems, of your data, from another different storage location. So that helps. If you had been attacked, you can still do disaster recovery and get back with your business. This means that businesses can minimize downtime and reduce the risk of data loss in the event of a disaster. Security. So cloud computing providers typically have extensive security measures in place to protect against cyber threats. This can provide a level of security that many businesses may not be able to afford on their own. Cloud providers typically offer multi-layered security measures such as firewalls, intrusion detection and prevention systems, and data encryption, which can help protect against cyber threats and data breaches. Flexibility. Cloud computing allows businesses to easily try out new tools and services without having to invest in new hardware or software. This can allow businesses to experiment and innovate more quickly and easily without incurring significant costs. So with flexibility, if the cloud provider brings in a new feature, you can try it out before it's even launched. You can try it out and see how it works without paying for it first to see, does it align with your businesses? Do you need it? And then if you need it, you pay for what you want to use of that service. But if you don't, if you see that you do not need that service, then you do not commit to it. Now let's look at increased efficiency. Cloud computing can help businesses increase efficiency by allowing them to quickly provision computing resources on demand. This means that businesses can rapidly scale up or down their computing resources based on demand without having to invest in expensive hardware or software. Just like we said earlier on when we talked about scalability, when you find out right this minute that you need more virtual machines, then you add up those virtual machines to your environment. When you find out that we no longer need these virtual machines, they are now idle, you remove them from your platform. So that's how cloud computing can be efficient. So you do not need to buy and spend more. You just rent that small part of storage that you need. So this can lead to faster deployment of applications and services. This can help businesses be more responsive to their customers' needs. Improved collaboration. Cloud computing can enable improved collaboration among team members regardless of their location. Cloud-based applications and services can be accessed from anywhere with an internet connection, which means that teams can work together more easily and effectively regardless of their physical locations. Overall, cloud computing can provide businesses with a range of benefits that can help them increase efficiency, reduce costs, and improve their operations. However, it is important for businesses to carefully consider their needs and to choose a cloud computing provider that can meet those needs effectively. Now, let's look at disadvantages of cloud computing. While there are many advantages of using cloud computing, there are also some potential disadvantages that users should be aware of. Here are some of the primary disadvantages of using cloud computing. There is security and privacy risks, dependence on internet connectivity, limited control, vendor lock-in, performance issues, costs. Now, let's expand on these disadvantages. Security and privacy risks. Storing data and applications in the cloud can expose them to security risks, such as data breaches, hacking, and unauthorized access. Additionally, users may have concerns about the privacy of their data, especially if it is stored in a location that is subject to different laws and regulations. However, cloud providers have very robust systems. They take their security very seriously, and mostly their security structures are more robust and strong than the security structures businesses usually have on their systems. So in that regard, security isn't really a problem when it comes to cloud computing. However, because threat actors are very determined to cause havoc, they will always try to break into systems. So you have to be careful when it comes to deciding on which security structures your cloud provider has. You have to look into that, and you have to be satisfied that they can be able to guard your data and your applications. However, when it comes to security, the consumer is also responsible for their part. If a threat actor gains access to your system because they had access to credentials of one of the organization's employees, then the fault falls on the consumer. So as the consumer, you're also responsible for keeping the system secure. Who has access to the system, who has credentials, who can access the system. So you have to also, that's the part of the consumer. You have to also take care of the data security and the information security. Now, let's look at dependence on internet connectivity. So cloud computing relies on internet connectivity to access and use resources, which can be a problem if internet connectivity is poor or unreliable. So if your internet gets cut off, that means you will not be able to access your cloud computing platforms. This can result in downtime and lost productivity. So let's look at limited control. Cloud computing owners may limit the amount of control that users have over their data and applications, which can be a concern for businesses with specific compliance requirements or security needs. So cloud providers have their own standard way of doing things. They can try to customize their services to meet your needs, but at times they will not be able to customize all their services to meet your needs, to meet the way you do your businesses. So that can be a limitation. And so when you're choosing a cloud provider, you have to see if the cloud provider can customize the services to fit your job descriptions, and if they cannot, how can you go about it? Can you compromise, or do you have to look for another cloud provider? Now let's look at vendor lock-in. Users may become dependent on a particular cloud computing provider, which can make it difficult to switch providers if prices increase or service quality declines. Now, let's say a business has been using a particular cloud provider for over 2 decades. It's difficult for them to just move to another cloud provider. There's a lot to be considered. You have extended your business in accordance with this cloud provider's services, and maybe these services are not offered by any other cloud provider, and so it now limits you to this one cloud provider, and maybe even their prices have increased, but you still need to use their services because your business has been customized and extended according to their services. And even if their service declines, maybe they now have security problems, it could be difficult for a business to just up and go and use another cloud service. So this can become a challenge as well when using cloud computing. Now, there's performance issues can arise when using cloud computing. Cloud computing can be subject to performance issues such as latency and slow response time, especially when resources are shared amongst multiple users. If your internet is slow, things can go slow, and if there is so much pressure on the resources, it can take a lot of time. There can be latency and slow response times. However, this is not a common thing with most cloud providers. They try to make sure that the response times are fast. But also with response times, this also has to do with where are you storing your data? Where are your virtual machines deployed? Which region are they deployed in? Are they close to your customers, or are they too far away from your customers? So when you're choosing a cloud provider, you have to look at what regions are they in. Do they have regions in Africa? Do they have regions in America? Do they have regions in Asia where you have your businesses? And if they do not have data centers in those countries that you have many of your customers, you may have to look for another cloud provider that has data centers in certain areas that you are mostly concerned with. Now let's look at the cost. So while cloud computing can be cost effective for many users, especially those who do not want to invest in expensive hardware or software, it can also become expensive over time, especially if usage levels increase or if users require specialized resources. So yes, in the beginning, you do not have to buy a huge server with a lot of memory that you're not using. So you just hire a small part of storage that you want to use. When you don't want to use it, you remove it from your resources. But over time, this cost can build up. So over time, it could be better to have purchased the server, because if you purchase a server, it is yours. You get to use all the storage on it. As your business grows, you use more of the storage. So this is an overtime thing. So if If you do not have the resources to purchase a huge server that you are not going to be using all the storage on it, then cloud computing may be a better choice for you. But if you can see your business growing rapidly, sometimes it might be better to just purchase the expensive hardware and software and not use cloud computing. And other businesses, to overcome this, they use both cloud and both on-premise, which is referred to as hybrid cloud. So that may be another choice to cut down on costs and still be able to enjoy the benefits of cloud computing. So it's important for users to carefully consider these potential disadvantages before adopting cloud computing and to weigh them against the benefits that cloud computing can provide. By doing so, users can make informed decisions about whether cloud computing is the right choice for their needs or not. Thank you very much for watching. See you in the next video. Please comment below and give more insights and more comments on the content that we've given you in this PowerPoint presentation. Let us know of any more content you'd like us to cover on cloud computing, any concepts that you'd like to be explained further. Thank you.